Joining me now is journalist and filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, we have taken one giant step towards a Ukraine-Russian peace deal. President Zelensky has accepted a ceasefire proposal after talks between the US and Ukraine in Saudi Arabia. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the ball is now in Russia's court.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. We'll take this offer now to the Russians, and we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Ami, this is a massive step towards peace. Will it be an enduring peace? Will Russia stick to the terms of the agreement? And how quickly do you think Vladimir Putin will come to the table?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Rita, I'm not sick of being right. I can be right all day long. I mean, look, it took Trump 50 days to get a 30-day ceasefire that Biden couldn't do in 3 years. Okay, look, can we trust Russia? No, I mean, in a vacuum, you cannot trust Russia. But in context, look, it's unclear, first of all, whether or not they'll accept the ceasefire. Second of all, if they do, whether or not they'll use it as a real ceasefire, negotiate for peace, or use it as a hudna, which is an Arabic term that Arabs, generally when Arabs do ceasefires, they are just, this goes back to Muhammad, they're just interregnums until they're able to have a strategic advantage. They begin the war all over again. So it's not clear. What is clear is that this is a negotiation with Trump and not Biden, right? Look, the rhetoric has changed. You can now see how this was all a master plan, a negotiating ploy to get to the point of where we are now and to move forward to an enduring peace. You can see the steps all coming together. The rhetoric has changed. The actions have changed. Trump, as we know, had an intelligence pause, a military aid pause. Now those things are all back, and now he's saying, hey, Russia, you better get in line. If you don't, we're going to have devastating sanctions. He's pivoted against Russia, which is exactly what he wasn't doing before, but now he's got Ukraine where he wants it. Now he's moving toward and targeting Russia. Let's also not forget something. It bears repeating. Putin invaded Ukraine during Obama. Putin invaded Ukraine during Biden. Who did not invade Ukraine during Trump? He's scared of Trump. And I think that's all going to lead toward, ultimately, a deal.
Well, I think it's been reported that Donald Trump told him in his first term, if you invade Ukraine, I will bomb Moscow. And whether he would or not is not the question. Obviously, there was enough doubt in Vladimir Putin's mind to rethink that sort of behaviour. But this is why it's so maddening to hear these idiots who should know better describe President Trump as pro-Russia. He has been the most anti-Russia president we have seen. He has tried over and over again to diminish Russia's power, to diminish Europe's reliance on Russian energy, and yet he's characterised in this way. And the Democrats are still pushing their crazy Russian collusion theories, and they're doubling down, Ami, on their support for characters that they should have nothing to do with. I'm going to talk here about Mahmoud Khalil. This is a man who's been behind some really awful protests at Columbia University, protests that have become violent, that have left Jewish students fearing for their safety. The Trump administration wants to deport him for these riots at Columbia, but the Democrats are doing all they can to stop the deportation. Congressman Rashida Tlaib even likened Khalil's treatment to fascism. She posted, "We have to fight back against fascism. This is a test case, and it couldn't be more important we stop this and bring him home. Mahmoud's rights are our rights. If they can illegally abduct him and shred his legal rights, they will never stop. Anyone this lawless administration disagrees with can be targeted. Ami, tell me about this man and why ICE and the Trump administration want him out of the country.
Yeah, in the words of Donald Trump, Shalom, Mahmoud, goodbye. Look, Mahmoud, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Let me tell you a little about this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, that the Democrats are lining up behind. This is a guy who is an active supporter of Hamas, right? Now, this is the guy. By the way, you showed Rashida Tlaib. Okay, she's a crazy. The Senate Democrats have lined up behind him. The Senate Democrats' official Twitter account said release Mahmoud Khalil, right? They can't get behind a 13-year-old with cancer, but they can line up behind this terrorist supporter? I mean, brah, this is why you lost the election. You're doubling down on crazy, on nuts, on extremism. Americans realize that. And by the way, I know they're trying to say, well, we don't like what he said, but it's legally baloney. This is all legal. The man is not a U.S. citizen. He's a green card holder. That's you're like in the ante room waiting to become a citizen, okay? You don't have the exact same rights that we do as U.S. citizens. It is very clear, if you're a green card holder and you call for support of a terrorist organization or call for support against violence for the United States or try to get somebody else to commit violence in the United States, you have that green card revoked and you could be tossed out. And he qualifies not for one of those things or two of those things. He qualifies for all three of those things. So the U.S. and Trump are well within their legal and moral rights to throw this agitator out of our country. I am so glad he's done this.
Now, Ami, you've made a short doco on the Israel-Hamas war, and has Israel done enough to save Gazans, or are they committing genocide?
The media was flooded with images of destroyed buildings smashed to rubble. And alongside it, the campaign to demonize Israel, a narrative accepted by many people on the left. Do you think that Israel's committing war crimes in Gaza?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like intentionally targeting civilians?
Yeah, they're just like blowing everything up.
That conflict in Gaza?
Oh, yes, I know a lot.
Okay. So do you think that Israel is committing war crimes?
Yes, I do. The definition of a genocide is, yeah.
You think it's a genocide?
I think they definitely are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
From what it sounds like, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think they acting improperly because they killing a lot of innocent people.
Right.
I think they are. I think they are committing war crimes. I see like on the news, hospitals and children, they don't care about the civilians. So is Israel committing war crimes as the media has promulgated, or is it following the rules of war?
Ami, you must just be dismayed by the opinion of so many of your countrymen and women that they think this is a deliberate genocide, that Israel is going out of its way to kill civilians.
I'm glad you asked. The exact opposite. Because after I interviewed those people, and then we get the documentary itself, and at the end of the documentary, you have those same people who I interviewed at the beginning, the ones we just saw, and I showed them my documentary, and they're watching it in real time. Every single one of them changed their positions on Israel. All they needed was the actual facts. And you know what? Here's what distresses me more than anything. There's one killer statistic. I say that obviously tongue in cheek. And that statistic is this, is that when the most moral armies in the world, the armies of NATO, go to war, when they fight in urban warfare, which is Israel finds itself fighting in, because it's the most brutal form of warfare, NATO itself, 9 out of 10 people killed in that kind of warfare are civilians. In Afghanistan, for example, and in Iraq. Israel, which is fighting in a far more dense place, right? Gaza, where you have an organization, a government who is deliberately trying to put its own civilians in harm's way. Only 1 out of 2 of the people who are killed are civilians. 50% of them are in fact the people they're trying to target, which I know sounds like a lot. Look, I know you say the words, every civilian life is too much, and that's true. At the end of the day, you have to look at data, and data shows that the IDF is the most ethical army in the world. You know what people also forget, and at the end of that document, toward the end of the documentary, I was shooting in Israel, and when I was there, I was coming under withering rocket attack. People forget, Israel for months, every day was being rocketed by Hamas from Gaza into Tel Aviv, into Jerusalem, into all these population centers. And the only reason why there wasn't massive amount of death because Israel has the technology, Iron Dome, to shoot these things down in midair. But every hour I was there for a week, Rita, there were red alerts where people had to run from their homes.
People forget that, Ami. People forget that. We've run out of time, but we will bring more of that documentary for our viewers next week. Ami Horowitz, thanks for your time tonight.
Always a pleasure.